Imagine it's just after 3 a.m.
A train is racing through the English countryside.
Inside are millions of pounds in cash.
The crew believes this is just another routine journey. But hidden in the darkness, a gang of criminals is about to change history. In less than 30 minutes, they will pull off one of the most daring robberies the world has ever seen. And for a brief moment, it will look like the perfect crime. During the early 1960s, Britain's railways moved enormous sums of money every night. Cash from banks, businesses, and post offices traveled hundreds of miles across the country.
Get them all aboard!
Security was surprisingly limited. To most people, it was simply another train. But to experienced criminals, it looked like a moving vault filled with treasure. Behind the plan was a man named Bruce Reynolds. Unlike ordinary thieves, Reynolds dreamed of something larger. He wanted a robbery so bold that Britain would remember it for generations. To achieve it, he assembled a team of experienced criminals. Every member had a role, and every detail had to be perfect. Months before the robbery, the planning had already begun. Every route was analyzed, every mile carefully considered. The gang studied schedules for weeks, searching for patterns others never noticed. They watched and waited, and learned everything they could about their target. Certain stretches of track offered privacy, others offered risk. The difference could determine success or failure. Timing became critical. Every minute, every second had to be accounted for. This wasn't a random group of thieves. It was a carefully assembled team. Each man had a role. Slowly, the plan took shape. Complex, ambitious, and incredibly dangerous. At the center of it all stood one man, Bruce Reynolds, a brilliant strategist and mastermind. The target had been chosen. The team was ready. Now they only needed a way to stop the train. The countryside was quiet, almost unnaturally quiet. Time was running. Every minute brought the train closer. One by one, the robbers moved into position. Months of planning had led to this moment. There was no turning back. Every piece of equipment had a purpose. Every detail mattered. Meanwhile, the target was getting closer. The crew suspected nothing. To them, it was just another journey. Inside the mail cars, millions of pounds traveled through the night. The train moved closer. The gang waited. The distance between them was disappearing. And ahead, a single signal was waiting. One signal that would stop a train and change history. Ahead of the train, a red signal appeared. To the driver, it looked completely normal. Just another warning on the line. He had seen thousands of signals before. There was no reason to suspect this one. But hidden nearby, the gang was watching, waiting. The signal demanded only one response: stop. The brakes engaged. Steel screamed against steel. The locomotive began to slow, exactly as the robbers had hoped.
Months of planning now rested on a single moment. And so far, everything was working.
The train rolled forward, slower and slower, until finally it stopped. The trap had worked. The robbery was about to begin. Out of the darkness, figures began to move. For the crew, the nightmare was beginning. For the gang, the operation was finally underway. The train had been stopped. The hardest part was over. Now the robbers had only one goal: take the money and disappear before anyone could stop them. The robbers emerged from the darkness, fast, focused, and ready. This wasn't a random attack. It was a carefully choreographed operation. The crew had no warning. Only moments earlier, everything had seemed normal.
Within seconds, the gang took control. The train now belonged to them.
Each man had a specific task. No one wasted time. The robbers weren't interested in the entire train, only the cars carrying the money.
The valuable mail cars were isolated, exactly as planned.
Months of preparation were paying off. Everything was happening on schedule.
For the crew, there was little they could do. The operation was moving too quickly. Then came the moment they had been waiting for. The money, millions of pounds, within reach. The fortune was real, and now it belonged to them. The train had been stopped. Control had been secured. Now came the most important part of the operation: taking the money. The robbery was underway. The money was in front of them, but the clock was ticking, and every second increased the risk of being caught. Welcome to Vicalink Vault. Inside the mail cars sat a fortune, more money than most people would see in a lifetime. The robbers worked with military precision. Bag after bag disappeared into waiting vehicles. There was no time to count, no time to celebrate, only time to move. The operation was working almost too well. But hidden inside every perfect plan is the possibility of failure. Within minutes, the train had been emptied. The fortune was now in their hands. Then they vanished into the night, with millions of pounds, and a dangerous belief that they had committed the perfect crime. The robbery was over, the money was gone, and Britain was in shock. The gang had done the impossible. They had stopped a train, stolen a fortune, and disappeared into the darkness. But while the country searched for answers, the robbers were making a mistake that would eventually destroy everything. The gang retreated to a remote hideout, Leatherslade Farm. For the first time, they could finally relax.
Months of planning had paid off. The money was theirs. And confidence quickly turned into complacency.
Then investigators found the farmhouse, and what they discovered changed everything. The robbers had left something behind: fingerprints. Dozens of them. In one careless mistake, the perfect crime had begun to unravel. The fingerprints changed everything.
The mystery was over.
Now it was a race. Could the police find the gang before the gang disappeared forever? Investigators worked around the clock, following every clue the robbers had left behind. One by one, suspects began to fall. Arrests followed across the country. Britain watched in disbelief.
The gang that seemed untouchable was coming apart. But not everyone had been caught. Some had vanished, and one name would soon become legendary. His name was the one they would never forget, and his story was far from over. Most criminals run. He disappeared, and for years, nobody could stop him.
After his conviction, he seemed destined to spend years behind bars, but fate had other plans.
In a stunning twist, he escaped and vanished before authorities could stop him. For decades, investigators searched across the globe, yet somehow, he remained beyond their reach.
The robbery had made him famous, but it was his disappearance that made him a legend.
The Great Train Robbery was over. The money was gone. Yet more than 60 years later, the story still refuses to fade. More than 60 years later, the Great Train Robbery still captivates the world. Not because it was the largest robbery, not because it was the most violent,
but because of how close it came to being perfect.
For a brief moment, a small group of criminals achieved the impossible. They stopped a moving train and stole a fortune. The planning was brilliant. The execution was precise. The robbery itself was a masterpiece.
But history remembers one crucial lesson. A perfect robbery means nothing if you cannot escape the consequences.
Great Train Robbery was a triumph, a disaster, and a legend, all at the same time.
Because stealing the money was the easy part. Getting away with it was impossible.
If you enjoyed this story, subscribe for more legendary heists, unsolved mysteries, and unbelievable moments from history.
Because sometimes, the truth is more incredible than fiction.